Have you ever wondered why some students can read a material once and get a better understanding of it, and there you are reading the same material for the seventh time and still can't retain any information? It is not that these people are naturally gifted or use some sort of supernatural inputs. The only difference between you and them is that they know how to study, but you don't. Well, don't worry, stick until the very end of this video and I hope you would have learned a thing or two. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Java. Please leave a like, comment and also subscribe now. Let's dive deep into the video. The very big question I want to ask you is, how do you approach your studies? What techniques do you apply to help you learn the things that you learn? Some students would passively read through the material over and over again and somehow they hope that they will miraculously understand the material. Whereas there are some students who will read the material giving equal priorities to every information they read. This is a very lame way of studying and very time wasting too. Top students will rather skim through the whole chapter first, taking note of highlighted text, images, diagrams, and any other thing that they think the author deems relevant. This gives them a fair idea of what the chapter entails, and 20% of the foundation has already been laid. After reading through everything, they will then take their time and study material holistically. A better and a holistic understanding of the material will stem from how well you are able to relate the current information to the previous knowledge that you already have about the information, and also trying to create analogies around the concepts. In trying to relate previous knowledge to the new one, you would be able to create a very strong interlink system of the broken pieces of knowledge that you already have about the concept, helping to increase your retention rate exponentially in the long run. If you want to do well in the exams, then you want to focus on core concepts. Another big difference between top students and average students is that top students pay more attention to high yield information. By all means, study every piece of the material, going through it for the first time. On subsequent visit, you want to narrow it down to things which are really relevant. The past papers, the exam questions you gather on the internet, and the review questions at the end of the chapter should be able to guide you to narrow things down. Study around these core concepts and be able to even predict the most likely examination questions. And if you are ever indecisive as to whether you should read a textbook or a lecture slides, please, I would suggest you read a textbook first for an in-depth and a fundamental understanding of the topic before moving on to read the lecture slides. The lecture slides would point out the important stuff in that module or course, but the textbook will make you appreciate the topic to a greater extent. Read the books, the lecture slides, and any other resource within your reach. Transfer the main ideas into a notebook, highlighting the important words and text, and if necessary, then formulate active recall questions to use them as a revision tool in the future. Grab a piece of paper, a laptop, a notebook, or a phone. Write down active recall questions. These questions should be simple and coherent, and they should come from both your understanding of the topic and the actual points raised in the chapter. This way, you're not just gobbling and regurgitating stuff from that concept, but you are actively involving your brain to participate in the answering and formulation of these active recall questions. And since you are using your brain to do this, then it shouldn't be so hard for you to remember the answers to the questions in the future. That is, if you ever at some point have to. Refine and improve active recall questions. Instead of just going back to read everything or opting for rote memorization, I would rather encourage you to practice and prioritize answering of active recall questions and trying to fill in the knowledge gap whenever necessary, especially when you are stuck upon questions and if it gives you a hard time to answer some of these questions, don't panic. It is completely normal. Some of these questions are definitely going to get you frustrated. What I rather want you to do is that try so hard coming up with the answers to the questions, and if after many failed attempts, then go back to your textbooks or lecture slides. Read the concept and in the information again, paying particular attention to these knowledge gaps. The best way to reinforce knowledge is through active recall and spaced repetition. Remember that when it comes to memory retention and trying to move information from the working memory to the long-term memory, repetition is key. And please try to avoid the perfect answers. What I call the perfect answers are the actual answers which are being stated in the book. When you do this, there's always the temptation to going back to check these answers, especially when you are stuck upon questions that you are finding so hard to answer. What you should rather do is that refer back to the textbooks or the lecture slides. This way, it gives you a holistic understanding of the concept and not just memorizing the something out of context. And before I forget, I have another video where I speak about how to stay hyper focused when studying without getting distracted. So far, all the things I've spoken about in this video, you can't do any of them without being focused. So please Check that video out. One of the pro tips that top students apply and they wouldn't even want you to know is that they stay organized. It is as simple as that. They try to stay organized. And I know that sounds like a cliche and it's been underrated, so we have to re-echo it and re-echo it time and time again. We will tell you the importance of how staying organized, how planning ahead of time is important. One of the reasons why people tend to procrastinate is because they don't plan ahead of time. So if you are being proactive, it also means that you are planning ahead of time. You know what to do and when to do so. There's nothing like deadlines, and you will meet the deadlines and everything will be fine with you. So what I simply want you to do is that I want you to stay organized. How then do you stay organized? Even before the beginning of the trimester or the academic year, I want you to grab a piece of calendar. Think about the courses for the trimester that you'll be doing that academic year and write down where you have assignments, where you will have lectures, and when you spare time out to spend it with friends and family, and when you have time to do other important activities. And when you do this, you are already on your way to the top. Well, I know and understand that that is such on a big scale. Now, zoom it down to weekly basis, to daily basis, to monthly basis. The least you can do is to plan your week. So, before the week starts, what you have to do is that on Sunday, grab a piece of paper, write out what you want to do on the weekdays. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. What would you want to do? And also, you have to refer to your timetable and see where you have free periods. Then you also include what you want to do at those periods. Like, okay, I want to study the anatomy of the shoulder. I want to study the anatomy of the hip. So I will write it there. So if at this time I'm not doing anything and I'm not at lectures, then I probably would be studying this or that. And I would account myself at the end of the day. I will make sure I study it and I will definitely study it. So the next time you see yourself procrastinating, just ask yourself one basic question. Have you planned? Do you have a plan? Okay, where's the draft? Show me your plan. Show me your schedule. Most of us, we don't even have a schedule. We just go about doing what our heart tells us to do and we flow with the moment. You act on an impulse. That is not good. As a student or someone who is aspiring to become a top student, as an average student as we all are, we have to make conscious efforts to put ourselves out there to do the right thing, to do, all this expertise, advice, and everything, to put everything into practice if we really want to see the results. Make daily, weekly, or monthly to-do list of various important tasks and activities that you want to accomplish. So before the beginning of each day in the morning, take your daily to-do list, go through them, revise them, and make sure you know what you're about to do. And before we say goodbye to each other, I want you to remember this popular saying that failure to plan is planning to fail. And that is your take-home message there, my friends. All right, friends, that is all for today. Please subscribe in order to support me to keep making these videos. My name is Jabor and I am that guy.